Hi, our guest today is Frank Saba, who retired this month after a 27-year career at Milford Regional Medical Center, better known to most people as Milford Hospital. Frank, how you doing?
Welcome.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, Kevin. I'm doing okay. I must say the last few days, and especially yesterday when I stepped down, were kind of sad days for me after so many years at the helm.
I can't imagine that. I mean, it had to be, because you've seen such a transition. I mean, you know, it's a different place than it was when you walked in the door 27 years ago.
It sure is. You know, we're all proud of what we've together with the community been able to accomplish there and what we've built. And my hope has always been that we would be doing something really nice for the residents who live here and helping to improve their care and the quality of life for them. So I hope we've done that.
Yeah, we were just talking before the show began about looking at the picture of the original hospital building and the changes. I mean, how many things have been built during your tenure?
Well, that is an interesting question. I was thinking about that the other day, Kevin and Al, and the first thing we did was, the first major building that we did was the Hill Outpatient Center.
Right.
And that was built, I think, back in the, I'm trying to remember now, I believe it was like the mid to late 90s. I lose track of when these things went up. The next thing we did was we added on top of that building the Women's Pavilion, which
Right.
was a center for women's health. We then built the Patient Care Addition, which largely was built to expand our surgical services and our operating room capability. We also added at that time a new cafeteria and kitchen, which
So that was where the original building was.
that was
correct?
part of the original
Okay.
building, exactly. Also part of that building project involved building new maternity rooms for our new moms, private rooms, and that was part of that project. Then came the Cancer Center, which is now 6 years old, almost 6 years old, which again we think is just a wonderful service to have for the folks who are dealing with that terrible problem. And then the last one for me, the capper, was the Meehan Family Pavilion, which just opened completely at the end of October. And I was hoping and grateful to be here for that last major project to kind of wrap up my career.
Mm.
Well, it's not the end of your career,
No.
because we know after a while you're going to be working locally elsewhere, but your tenure at the hospital, it's been quite a change. I have to tell you candidly, when I moved into the area in the 70s, Milford Hospital didn't have the greatest reputations.
Yes.
There were stories going around, people would go in for something routine and develop complications and things like that. And today, I think just the opposite is true. Today, it's a destination hospital. And with the Cancer Center, you don't have to go to Boston anymore. I mean, people are coming from other towns this way
Yes.
to it. And it's quite a change over the last 30, 40 years, and you were there for a lot of it.
Well, thank you again, Kevin and Al. That's nice of you to say in terms of the change in the reputation of the institution. It is true. I had heard the same stories when I first arrived, that it wasn't the place to go if you had a serious, medical problem.
Right.
And I do believe now that people feel like it's a great place.
Absolutely. It's a destination.
I mean,
If you want to call it destination hospital.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
right.
you want to call it destination.
well, put it this way. I think everybody recognizes that lives within a certain mile radius around it. This is where you go first.
Absolutely.
You're not going to go to Mass General. You're not going to go to UMass. You're going to go to Milford. I still want to call it, I just got trained to call it Milford Whitensville and Milford Regional Medical Center.
Well, yeah, and there are other things that have occurred, not just the facility here,
Right.
but there's Tri-County, which has really has blossomed over the last, 5 or 6 or 7 years, which has been very, integral to the healthcare of this area. I mean,
And the relations with, I think, the UMass Med School.
Yeah, no, actually, thank you for bringing up both of those issues. You're so right, Al, about the tri-county physician group. Absolutely a key part of our success was creating that, what they call a hospital-affiliated
Right.
physician group practice. We actually started that, believe it or not, back in the early 90s. So it's been around for a while, and I do feel like we were a little ahead of the game doing that. A lot of community hospitals, years after we did it, said, boy, we need to build a physician base, and that's how you do it. So that has really taken off, and Phil Samacoli, who runs that now, has done a nice job building that up. We have about 90 physicians who work in
Well, it's
that
remarkable.
organization now, and they have their offices, their doctors' offices in different towns in our service area. And it's kind of little like a network. We have the hospital, and we have those physician offices that support the hospital. So that was a big deal. And you're right, Kevin, the partnerships that we've created with these different academic medical centers.
UMass Children's Hospital,
Right, which
Yeah.
is a significant change.
Dana-Farber,
Dana
Brigham and
Farber.
Women's.
Those
are big deals. And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm very proud of all of those things. The partnerships have been particularly satisfying because...
and Edward Kennedy.
And Kennedy, that's
Yes.
right. Those folks all have looked at Milford as a great place to partner with. And that says a lot about the people, the volunteers, the physicians, everybody who worked there. It says a lot about them, that those big places think that's a great relationship for them to have. We all feel it's great for us, and they feel the same way.
Well, it's truly, if you look at it, in my view, it's truly a community resource, a community hospital. It's not just a hospital, but it's a community hospital, which there's a significant difference because, I mean, for example, the nursing staff. The nursing staff is fantastic. You know, one of the comments I hear from a lot of people say the nurses are so caring, so engaged, so just they're there for you. And that's a philosophy that goes throughout the hospital, which you don't get in a lot of other
I
places.
have yet to find anybody, including myself, who's had a bad experience at the hospital.
Yeah. Well, it's nice. Again, you guys are great to say that. And it's true about the community feeling.
Right.
When I first came down to the hospital, and you're right, we had a big debate about whether to call it Milford Hospital or Milford Regional Medical Center. Every little issue is debated. And it's fine to call it the hospital. But when I first came down there, you know, I wasn't sure that I had made the right move because it's such a different atmosphere. It's a community atmosphere. And I was used to being in large academic medical centers. And it was different for me to understand it was neighbors caring for neighbors.
Right.
And it was a family kind of a thing. And so I may get some credit for building the culture, but it was there. The foundation was there. And what we've been trying to do since I've been there is build on that foundation and bring in physicians and nurses and volunteers and auxilians and all those people that share those values. So it kind of builds upon itself, and we've had some very good luck, I think, fitting the right people into that organization to work there.
Well, it's a philosophy. I mean, it's philosophically what happens in any organization, whether it be a hospital or a business or whatever, is one that comes from the management staff, upper management, sets a tone
Yes.
in a facility. And the tone that you have captained, so to speak,
Yes.
has caused that creation and that environment for people to grow. I mean, it didn't happen on
Thank
its
you,
own.
Al. No, thank you. I think that's hopefully true, and people have given me probably more credit
Well, I was
than
going to say,
deserve, but I
including-
appreciate it.
Yeah, I was going to say, part of that culture is your modesty. I know you don't like to be publicly gushed over.
No.
I think this last year must have been very hard for you, getting all these You're Going Out the Door awards.
was.
And,
You know-
and being fussed and fawned over, because I know you're not that type of guy.
Thank you. Yeah, it's true. Maybe to a fault sometimes, but I don't think so. I was reading a book recently, and there was a quote in there that made so much sense to me, resonated with me. It said, "It's amazing how many things can be accomplished when no one needs to take credit."
Bingo. That's a significant philosophy.
Yeah.
You know, I laugh because I got to be at a meeting, a recent luncheon where you were awarded a Paul Harris for
Yes,
Rotary.
yes.
And you have trouble doing things with a dry eye.
Yeah, lately, you're so true. It
Which
is
is-
getting pretty pathetic.
Well, no, it's okay.
It's tough, though, to close. You know, when the average person, especially younger people, flip from job to job every couple of years, it's really tough to find somebody today who spent, 27 years at one place.
It
I mean,
is.
my dad spent 35 years at the same company. And, we used to make fun of that, my sisters and I. But in reality, he had a nice job,
Yeah.
and he loved the people.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing with you. Or as my ex-wife used to say, my car knows the way there. I mean, it's easy to get there.
Yes. It is true, Kevin. I feel like I've had a very nice job, and people have been incredibly supportive of me, and the relationships have meant everything to me. And that's another philosophy that I strongly believe in. Relationships are everything in life. And there's so many good people here in this community and at that medical center with whom I've had the good fortune of getting to know and work with, that it makes the work worthwhile and fun.
Selectman Chairman Brian Murray the other night read out a letter you had written to the Board of Selectmen supporting the idea of bus service. And he just said, Frank's somebody I hold in esteem. And if he's saying it's an issue, then we have to look at it.
No kidding.
And I think that is a testament to your credibility in the community.
That's so sweet. And I'm not a Milfordian. I live in Shrewsbury, and people have been, as I said, amazingly supportive and kind of me, and have really welcomed me here and made me in many respects one of you guys. And even this discussion today, thoughtful after I'm done to have it. And it means a lot that this community has embraced me and my family as well, and as strongly as they have.
My suspicion is, as hinted before, that you're not through with this area.
Well,
Well, I don't know if it's common knowledge, but we do know you've
Yes.
taken a position after the new year with a local, what would you call it,
yes.
social service
Yeah,
agency?
yeah, behavioral health
Right.
company. Yeah, I want to. One thing I hope you'll love my wife's quote. I got to tell you my wife's quote, and she's been fantastic throughout my 27 years, as have my 3 daughters. But my wife said when she learned I was stepping down from Milford, she said, "Honey, listen, I married you for life, but not for lunch."
That's good.
So just understand, I don't want you sitting around the house all day long waiting for lunch and then dinner. And she's right. I would make her crazy.
Wow.
So what I'm hoping to do with that agency is develop a facility somewhere in this region for children and adolescents that have behavioral health problems. A facility that would be an integrated facility that would have substance abuse services and counselors and family support services and a primary care group. And as you guys know, and Kevin, you know extremely well, there are all kinds of great agencies doing God's work out here that we hope we can sort of get involved as
What
partners.
happens is there's a little bit over here, and
Yes.
a little bit over here, and a little bit
Yes.
over here. The dilemma is that mental health, generally speaking, has not had the visibility
Exactly.
and the focus that it needs to have.
Absolutely
And
right.
that's one section of healthcare that's really been overlooked. Overlooked is not a good description.
And let's
but-
face it, it's a
Yeah.
very stressful society these days.
You both make great points. Absolutely has been maybe underemphasized.
That's right, right.
And it is such a problem, and it's such a tough world for families raising children and adolescents, and school anxiety and depression, and all these things that get bombarded with all this terrible news all the time. So I'm hoping that we can do something that will have at least some impact in a positive way on treating these folks that dealing with these tough problems.
That's good. Now, let's look back during your tenure.
Sure.
What are some of the high points for you over those years? We talked about building the additions, but what are things that you could readily call to mind that you remember as being like some of the high points of the last 30 years?
Sure. I think, and Al mentioned this earlier, I think establishing that physician company, I think that was one of the best moves that we made as an organization. And frankly, that was controversial because most physicians at that time were in what's called private practice. And I think they were concerned that if we employed physicians, as we do in this company, it would be competition for them and that they would lose their patients. But we stuck with it, and it turned out to be one of the best things we did as it grew, and those folks stayed loyal to the organization.
And one of the benefits that I hear from the doctors in it is their malpractice premiums were skyrocketing when they were by themselves. But now that they're part of a physician group, it's much more easy to manage.
Absolutely.
So there's a benefit to both sides there.
Absolutely right. And also, Kevin, they don't need to worry about setting up a practice and negotiating payments from insurance companies and hiring staff and all that. That's taken care of by the company.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Yes.
the other benefit is that they have a place where they can refer patients. Where
Correct.
they have established credibility, where they understand what kind of services are there, so there's not a question. And for a physician, that's got to be a real great foundation, because then they don't have to think about what they're doing. They can say, okay, go see this place, this doctor, get this thing.
Yeah.
And he's in
right.
the same group,
in
and
the
it
same group. So
simplifies,
it's real simple.
That's right.
simplifies the insurance things too, when the average person tries to
Example,
negotiate.
I had an x-ray done, and the doctor, and it was over at Tri-County in Whitesville.
Yes.
And they took the x-ray, and it was right there. They took the x-ray, then they referred it to the people at the hospital to take a look at it and confirm whatever was there or wasn't there. So they have expert available instantaneously. There's no okay, now take this x-ray over here and see this guy or that guy. It's all done electronically.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And plus records. Now the doctor can share electronically all those records. So when you go see the doctor at the hospital, he can call up those records and see everything that's happened to you, which is something they've been doing in Colorado for some time, and now that's available here. So if you're treated locally, everything's available to everybody.
Exactly. It's all right there and easily
And that's
accessed.
significant.
It's a big deal. And we still have some work to do, Al, frankly, the organization on developing, the best electronic medical records we can. But back to Kevin's question about, one was the Tri-County group, and then a second was the teaching program with UMass Memorial. And the two go hand in hand, actually, the physician company and the teaching program. When we set up the teaching program, and again, I helped do that, but certainly there were a lot of physicians that were as important in creating that teaching program as I was. But what that did for us was it brought these young, new physicians who were training to become practicing doctors to Milford Hospital to experience what a community hospital environment is like. And it gave us a chance to evaluate these young kids coming through and say, this is the one we want, this one fits our organization. And they, in turn, got to look at us and say, this is a place I'd like to work. So what that allowed, it was like a minor league team for us. It was a bench that we could pick from and start building.
And you have quite a few doctors today
Great
that came
doctors.
out of that program.
Absolutely. I mean, most of our emergency room physicians are graduates of UMass's emergency medicine residency program, and what a great group that is. So
Oh, really? Without question.
fantastic
Without
group.
question. And
I
they
was
had
gonna say-
emergencies.
Jeff Hopkins.
Oh, they're
Even though
great.
he's a Notre Dame graduate, which
Well,
I'm a Michigan guy. And
Well, I've heard that.
we don't get.
I heard that.
Sorry, I'm from a Notre Dame family. My dad's Notre Dame, so
I didn't know that before this discussion. It's okay. But
it's
so,
okay. I don't really.
I know. And so, those are a couple things. Then certainly the cancer center. My father had a brain tumor. He was a football player, great guy. Miss him to this day. He's been gone for 15, 17 years now, amazing. But I remember taking him in and out of Boston to get radiation therapy, and what a headache that was and what a nuisance. Just going in there and finding a place to park and the traffic. And it was only for a 15-minute, 5-day-a-week radiation treatment. To have this center here, it's terribly sad to see these folks dealing with the problem, the medical cancer, the cancer illness, but to have it there available to them, that's something that I think we all can be extremely proud of. And it wouldn't have happened without a lot of help from a lot of folks in this community and a great group of physicians and staff at the hospital.
And again, the anecdotal stories I hear is people have gone up to Boston for their first appointment, and the doctors have said, "Why are you coming here? You can stay right in the Milford area and see us."
A
In
specialist
Milford.
right there.
Right
And
there.
people are going, well, I didn't know what that was for. This
Yeah.
is right after it opened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now people are much more comfortable saying, I want the treatment here.
Absolutely.
And seeing the physician here.
And, the technology that Al talked about, now the doctors in that cancer center can, in real time, connect with a super specialist at the
Right.
Dana-Farber
Right.
to take a look at whatever cancer they're dealing with and come up with the latest and best treatment that they can so that it can be delivered right here.
Right here.
Which is great.
But all those things cannot happen unless there's an environment that encourages that free-thinking, creative thought process.
Yes.
That can't happen. Those things can't happen unless that environment is allowed to blossom.
Yes.
And that's what you've done.
Thank
You've
you.
created an environment where those creative thoughts, let's try this, let's try that, that can live and breathe. And it's a petri dish that allows that to grow. And that's a great thing.
Comment I heard from my cardiologist was, we ask him for things and he gives them to us.
Those guys are great too. That whole group, not just guys.
Oh, they've got a great group of guys. over there.
Hopedale Cardiology is
Yeah.
top notch.
Who's
and
now part of
love-
Tri-County.
Yeah, they
Right.
just do. I love those guys. There's so many wonderful physicians and.
Well, I know,
really
but I was
staff
amazed.
and-
We were just talking one day about that, and Dr. Shine says to me, the thing I like about Frank Saba is we go in and we just ask, and he doesn't fight back. He just says, what do you need it for? And, when the revenue's there, it happens.
Yeah, you just have to believe in those providers and physicians that they're going to do what's best for patients. And we always worry about the money. I'm not the best money man you'll ever run into, but we've had people like Ed Kelly who's taking over for
Right.
me.
Yeah.
And a real great chief financial officer named Gene Linsky,
Gene Linsky,
and a
yeah.
lot of other people there that, can keep me in line in case I get a little carried away. So I'm the dreamer. I'm the guy that, as you said, Al, strategically looks at different things we should be doing, and they're the guys that keep me grounded and say we can do this or that, and together we've been able to do some neat things.
For example, the cath lab, which is moving
Yes.
along at a good speed, and soon it'll be certified to do, we hope to do.
We hope so.
Yeah, and I think,
Angioplasty,
and that'll be a great thing, because instead of having to go up to UMass,
Yeah.
I went up there, when I went up there, that was when they were rebuilding that whole thing and remodeling. Oh man, what a nightmare that was.
It is a complicated institution, but they do good work.
Well,
up
they do
there.
good work. It's just they were remodeling the place, and it was laying in the hall and all kinds of stuff. But so it'll be nice to have a facility close at hand, so you don't have to put somebody in an ambulance, take them to UMass, and take care of that stuff. So there are all kinds of things that are occurring now and moving forward into the future that are going to be there for the hospital. And these are all things that have happened on your watch.
You're too kind, and stop saying that, because maybe it happened on my watch, but it wouldn't happen without the people
Well, there are
like Shine and the team.
There were a ton of, it's a ton
There's
of
a
people.
great group of people.
Oh,
there.
absolutely.
But you were at the helm as the
Yes.
ship was going by, and there's
Yes.
10,000 sailors and captains
You're
all
right.
doing it, but you're
You're right.
still up on the bridge.
Having been in the
To
Navy,
use that analogy.
I'll give you a little analogy. If the ship runs aground, the captain's the guy that gets the blame.
True.
They don't go to the XO, they don't go to the pilot, they go to the captain. So
Well, Al, you're right, and I'm sure that I made plenty of mistakes. I'm sure now that I'm gone, anytime there's a bad thing that comes up, they're going to say, that Saba guy, it's his fault that this happened, and that's fine. That's
Well,
part of it.
that only works for a couple of years, as you know, from the political arena. But
Yeah.
Well, you heard the story about the guy who goes into his first job, and he asked the guy he's sitting next to, he says, well, what do I do here? And he says, well, the first thing you do is you put your resume in an envelope in the desk. And he said, when they call you in and give you a review, the first thing you do is apologize. The second time they call you in, you open the desk drawer.
no, I haven't heard that one. But
That's right.
But no, I just think, whether it's you set a tone or whatever,
Yes.
I mean, it's very rare that everybody talks about this guy, Frank, or you'd hear Frank Saba this, Frank Saba that. To me, it's a culture, and, once you start being there over 20 years,
Yes.
you're the personification of the hospital to people, even if,
Yes.
it was other people who did things. It becomes sort of like you blame Obama for everything you don't like about government, because he's the guy at the top.
Yeah.
Everybody gave you the praise because you were the guy at the
Yeah,
top.
no, that's right. That's exactly right.
I think Ed is going to pick up the ball and run with it.
Yes.
I think it's going to be perhaps a little different environment, but it's going to be philosophically the same direction.
Yes.
Right, it's the same people.
Yes,
you know,
yeah,
so-
we've worked together for
Right,
so many years.
and you've trained him.
Yes.
Oh, that's a scary thought.
Did my
huh?
best.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah,
Take the good spots.
But I mean, Gene Linsky's still the CFO.
Absolutely, yeah.
Ed just
Yes.
adds a title now.
And the nursing people have
Right.
been there a long time. And
Right.
Well, the head doctor in emergency's been there, what, 27 years or
Yeah,
something?
Kate Burke and Jeff
Kate, she's-
Hopkins, fantastic
Kate is,
people.
well, she's something else.
Great lady.
Yeah,
great lady.
if you ever talk to Kate, you know where you stand.
You bet, you
Well,
bet.
She doesn't sugarcoat anything.
Not a word, no.
And that's a good thing. I
It
mean,
is good, and she's so positive.
Oh,
always.
absolutely.
Everything's about patience and good, and we can do this, and no, she's great. And, you know, another group, I like to mention all these folks and give them some appropriate compliments, like the volunteers and the auxilians there, unbelievable group of people. And, you know, those are the people that are there just out of the goodness of their heart, trying to help the organization, and my gosh, do they do a great job. And they're just the nicest people to
Oh,
work
absolutely.
with. I love them.
Absolutely.
Let's make sure we got the doctors, we got the nurses,
Yep.
we got the administrators, we got
Yep.
the volunteers, we're leaving anybody out.
Board of Trustees.
Board of Trustees.
Another volunteer group, you know,
Yeah.
again, they give a lot of time, and I think oftentimes people forget that we're an organization that has a board of directors, and they're the ones that set the policy and, you know, manage me as the chief executive officer, and they're also the ones that work on strategy, and they leave the day-to-day stuff to the rest of us. But again, you need that group up there, all on the same page, all pulling in the same direction. And I've been fortunate to work with a lot of trustees that have been, again, very supportive and very willing to give time and effort.
Well,
to
for
these.
Pat and everybody in the back, I'd like to give credit to the folks that do the evening courses that the hospital puts on.
Oh, yeah, the education.
I've attended a couple of those, and I found them first of all, extremely valuable to go to,
Yep.
and very knowledgeable people,
Yes.
and totally affordable, because most of them were free.
And then you have the Martin's group.
Oh, right, the
Richard's group.
foundation, the
The
development.
foundation is,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
those people over there. work
$25 million.
They work tirelessly.
I mean, yeah, who would have thought, you know, that, and we were excited that we could raise that kind of money to help build that new facility.
That was almost half the cost.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. And that's, again, foundation effort and great support from this community, fantastic support.
Right, the golf and the lounge and all that kind of stuff. And then you have the corporators who were involved in you know, they're the people that go around and talk about the hospital.
Yeah, the ambassadors of the
Right, the
hospital.
ambassador.
I gotta plug my wife too,
Oh.
Kevin, and
You mean say
Al.
good things about her. Plug, it could refer to something else.
She, no, you know, these kind of jobs, like the one I'm in, do require a lot of time and a lot of evening events and evening meetings and that type of thing. And, you know, as hard as you try to separate sometimes your personal from your professional life, it's really tough to do. And if things aren't going great personally, it's hard to do well professionally. And I've gotten fantastic support
Yes.
from her and my children, so that's a good thing.
Okay. Well, I heard our tiny little buzzer go off, which means we're running out of time. Any last thoughts
Well,
about the area?
I would just say, and thank you, I would say thank you, Kevin and Al, and thanks to this community for helping us to build an absolute first-class healthcare system here. And it's going to do well and continue to be successful. And I wish everybody out here well, and hope to see everybody again in a different role.
Well, and we know that in 2016, we'll be hearing about your new role and
Yes.
still seeing you around, which
Yes.
is, I think, good for the
That's
community
good
as well.
for the community.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see you guys.
Same here.